Welcome into the Cory Sanning Show, everybody. This Monday, March 30th edition of the show. Happy Monday to you, one and all, who are tuning in. Hope you had a great start to the week. The show today is brought to you by our friends at Bioworks Knoxville. We'll get into that sponsorship here in a minute. Those of you that are just tuning in the YouTube space, please subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Dislike it if you didn't. Please comment to boost the algorithm, and make sure you hit that notification bell to get notified of when we drop our daily content here at the Cory Sanning Show. And I wish that I was coming at you all today from a bit of a better mood, I should say, or a bit of a more cheerful topic. Our Tennessee Vols, my Tennessee Vols, proud class of 2020 alumnus, once again, despite an inspiring run to the Elite Eight for the third straight year in a row, fall to Michigan in the Elite Eight, 95-62. Tennessee fails to make the Final Four for the first time in program history. The Vols now have the most NCAA tournament wins for a program in NCAA history without ever making a Final Four. Not really something you want to be remembered for in March basketball, but it's just what Tennessee finds itself dealing with at this point. And ultimately, just we're going to get into why it happened, why this wasn't the biggest failure of the Rick Barnes era in terms of getting to where they need to be, and what Tennessee ultimately might need to do to finally get Rick in that program over the hump into a Final Four, because they've had the roster to do so probably at least 3 to 5 times in the last 8 years, and unfortunately they haven't gotten it done. Props to Michigan. Congrats to the Wolverines. It pains me to say that. It's like vinegar coming off the tongue. They bullied Tennessee. They were both physical defensive teams, but Michigan just showed that it was on another level. And that's why they were the 1 seed. Tennessee was a 6 seed, so the Vols really overachieved to get where they were. But it was a credit to Barnes. This might have been his finest coaching job yet, even though the results did not, obviously show for it yesterday on Sunday. But ultimately, this team really did overachieve, and it's a testament to how great of a coach Rick Barnes is and how great of a guy he is. And we'll get into some of my experiences with Rick Barnes here in a second. But it was a close game at first, but Michigan ultimately went on a 21-0 run. The fact that they went on a 21-0 run to help close out the first half on a Rick Barnes-led defense is just insane. We saw Houston do something very similar last year when they destroyed Tennessee in the first half of their Elite Eight matchup a year ago. But ultimately, Tennessee goes home, and the Vols now have a lot to do, a lot of pieces to pick up to start the offseason. But we'll get into why and all that here in a second. As I said, this episode is brought to you by Bioworks Knoxville. The guest lines are open, so those of you that feel like calling in and voicing your frustrations or letting me know what you think, if you disagree with me, call into the show. You will have 60 seconds unfiltered to give your opinion. And then obviously, if you give us a good enough argument, maybe we'll give you a whole entire segment. So getting into it, obviously, Tennessee falls in the Elite Eight once again. Tennessee once again suffers a heartbreaking loss to Michigan of all teams. And the Vol season comes to an end at 25-12. Obviously, second straight season with more than 25 wins. Looking at the stat line, Jacoby Gillespie led Tennessee with 21 points, did not shoot the ball very well, was 8-22 from the field, and didn't hit many threes. Felix Akpara led the Vols with 7 rebounds, and then you have Gillespie leading the Vols with 4 assists. On the other side, Lindeberg led, if I even said his name right, this tells you how much I need to re-engage in college basketball, led Michigan with 27 points and 7 rebounds, and obviously, when your leading assist man gets 10 assists to only 3 turnovers, so you're going to be doing something pretty good in terms of the ball movement. So, close game to start out. Tennessee came in 24-11. Obviously, Michigan was 34-3, so it was quite a mismatch on the stat sheet, and it ended up being a mismatch on the floor as well. Tennessee it's like clockwork. The Vols get to big games, they get to the Elite Eight, they get to these moments, and aside from having Dalton connect a couple of years ago, they just forget how to hit shots. And then they start taking these jump shots that they may have made the game prior, and they stop. They're not knocking them down. And instead of attacking the basket, they just settle for contested perimeter shots. Now, they might not have all been terrible looks this time around, but at the same time, Jacoby Gillespie was coming off of a hot shooting night. Couldn't really hit the broadside of a barn in this one. That's no disrespect to him whatsoever, but you just got to call a spade at this point. Tennessee just wasn't able to get it done, and they weren't able to hit shots when it mattered most. And that's unfortunately been the calling card in the Rick Barnes era. Great defense doesn't always translate to great offense just because Tennessee doesn't go out and ultimately put the best talent on the basketball court. A lot of Tennessee's, it's almost like a draft and develop team in pro sports in the college ranks. You're a recruit and develop, or a transfer portal and develop these 2 to 3 star guys that end up being major contributors, all SEC performers, sometimes even SEC Player of the Year contenders or winners, a la Grant Williams. But when it matters most, they don't have that one guy that can just give me the ball and get out of my way no matter what happens. I can create in the post. I can create in the perimeter. I'm going to get something done. I can pass it, kick it out to the open man. They're going to make the shot. Tennessee just hasn't had that guy aside from Dalton. Even when they had Dalton Connect, unfortunately, they didn't get any contributions from anyone else. And then Dalton Connect had to carry the load so much that down the stretch, he just completely ran out of gas and obviously missed a lot of makeable shots that would have perhaps won that game for Tennessee a couple of years ago. But ultimately, it just wasn't in the cards. I can't really contribute it to anything. Clay Travis, I will say, I love Clay. Those of you that know me know, I love the book on Rocky Top. I love Clay's takes. I don't always agree with all of his political takes, but Clay Travis did actually have a tweet that I want to put up here on the screen of following the game last night. And let me just pull that up here because I think it really says a lot about what Tennessee might need to do to get its basketball program over the hump. Because even though Rick Barnes, he's already said, football drives SEC schools. It's just the truth. And that's a lot. That's a lot to say. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this tweet up and I'm going to put it on the screen and we'll discuss it. Clay Travis, longtime Tennessee supporter, Tennessee fan, wrote the book on Rocky Top, obviously. A lot of you know him, a lot of you for his political opinions, founder of Outkick, that my former colleague and I'd say a friendly acquaintance, Trey Wallace, works with, does a great job covering the NCAA for them. This is what Clay had to say, and we'll read the thread. Obviously, Michigan is really good and destroyed Tennessee today. Both valid points. 3 straight Elite Eights is a great run for the Vols. It really is. I did have someone reply to me on Twitter that said, oh, that's Vandy level standards. Now, Vandy's not getting to 3 straight Elite Eights. That's just not happening. That's crazy, my guy. But here's the thing, and I agree with this, and I think this is something that we need to talk about and address. Big UT boosters and administration have a decision to make. How much money are they willing to give Rick Barnes to give him a truly elite roster? And that's a valid point. That is a very valid point. Rick Barnes, like I said, has done a great job developing not necessarily low-end prospects, but lower-end prospects. It's not like Tennessee's attracting, take it back a few years, the Zion Williamsons of the world, the 5-star guy, the next LeBron James. Those guys aren't coming to Tennessee, even though Rick Barnes is a great coach. Vols have lost in the Elite Eight the past 3 seasons to 1 seeds that are just better than they are. I would push back a little bit on that because I don't believe that Purdue, in the year that Dalton Connect played for the Vols, was a better team. I just think that because Zach Edey, I don't care what any of you say, Zach Edey is one of the most overrated, one of the most overhyped, one of the least skilled big men I've ever seen in basketball. This guy, all he did was just catch it and throw it up over his head and hope that he got the soft bounce and rolled in. And that's what happened against Tennessee a few years back in the NCAA tournament. What has happened to Zach Edey since? Can't find his way onto an NBA floor because he's not skilled. He's not that good. And of course, Zach Edey has the game of his life against Tennessee, as most people seem to do, Ryan Klein. And then they're never heard from again. And that's what happened when Purdue beat Tennessee a few years ago. I wouldn't agree that Purdue was overall the better team. I really don't think they were. But in this day and age of perpetual free agency, every season is a brand new roster, essentially. Not sure how many years Barnes has left. Think it's now or later for a top roster. And I agree with Clay there. As you see, I heard the tweet. Tennessee, while we all love our football team, we all love Josh Heupel, we all want to win national championships and SEC championships on the football field first, on the gridiron. Tennessee basketball can't be in we're just good enough phase. Tennessee basketball has to get over the top because Rick Barnes is too good of a coach to not have been to the Final Four more than one time, and that one time was with Kevin Bleepin Durant. and I believe LaMarcus Aldridge on that Texas roster. Unfortunately, and I love Rick. He's a great. Rick hosted media cookouts for us media guys at the baseball games. He would just hang out and talk with us because he's a real down to earth guy, and he's really someone that you'd sit there and be like, I could see myself hanging out with you on the weekends. And it doesn't even have to be, I could see myself having a beer with you. It's just, I could see us just sitting here and talking about life, talking about God, talking about family, talking about basketball. Rick Barnes and I believe Mike Wilson tweeted this, and I can attest to this as well, even though I haven't been on the beat in years. But despite him letting you hear it if he needs to, Rick Barnes has not cussed at one of his players since coming to Tennessee. Obviously, we'd have to get some more perspective on that, which we're working to get some more Tennessee perspective on this show here soon. But overall, I think Clay makes a great point. I think Tennessee, it needs to bust down and think, hey, we got to give a little bit more resources and more money to Rick to go out and get one of those guys that can just create a shot anytime he needs it, because I think that's what's been holding Tennessee back in the tournament in recent years. When they did have that in Dalton Connect, and he kind of sort of came out of nowhere, whatever sense that makes, but you saw he ran out of gas at the end just because it was a lot to put on one man's shoulders, obviously. But Tennessee has suffered some pretty painful Elite Eight losses. And honestly, I guess, what if we really, really put in, I'll say this. Tennessee, when the lights get the brightest, they just don't seem to make the plays in key moments. And I don't think that's from a lack of mental fortitude. I don't think it's from bad coaching. I just don't think that they have that guy. And that one time that they did have that guy, unfortunately, they were going against a 7-foot behemoth that had nobody on the other side that was physically big enough to really pound with him down low. That's what happened. And obviously, we go back to, I believe I saw a tweet from a pretty well-known Tennessee fan account that said, the best year was 2019, what he called the Grant and Admiral year. And I do remember this because it was one of my last full seasons on the beat, my second to last. But obviously, it put Tennessee on the national map in terms of a basketball program. And I remember that Ryan Klein game vividly, and that was in the Sweet 16, so it wasn't like it was in the Elite Eight. It should have been, and Ryan Klein, who is, I don't even know how this guy was even played college basketball, had the game of his life, was hitting shots that he could never even dream of hitting since then, had the game of his life, dropped, what was that even? Oh, man. How many points did Ryan Klein score on that game? But the one time Tennessee had a guy that could a go-getter, he didn't have any help when it mattered most. He ran out of gas late. Their half-court offense stalled late, and all Purdue had to do was throw the ball down to Zach Edey, and he just threw it up over his head, and it went in. I will say this. Tennessee hasn't just lost in these moments, whether it was that Sweet 16 game or the Elite Eight losses that they've experienced, dating all the way back to 2010 when they lost to Michigan State by 1 point. Those of you remember the J.P. Prince foul with less than 2 seconds to go. Ultimately, looking back now, I'd say that was a pretty bad call, but they should have won that game. They should have been in the Elite Eight in 2019. Ryan Klein has the game of his life, and it still takes a Carson Edwards foul, which Lamonte Turner, I still can't believe to this day that he committed this foul, because he was way too smart to do this, and I still can't believe to this day that it was him. But fouls Carson Edwards, and he hits 2 of 3 free throws to send the game to overtime. I remember I had to delete my entire story because after Grant's follow-up put-back dunk, I was like, okay, there's no way. This game is over, and Tennessee's going to the Elite Eight, and man, Man, I was already talking with my sports editor at the time. I was like, Blake, we're booking our trip to Minneapolis. We're going to the damn Final Four. I cannot believe we're going to get to put this on our resume and drop the pen because it didn't happen. Like, how absurd was that? And I can't even, I wish that I still had some of the tweets and DMs that I had from fellow Tennessee students, because I said I was right there. As unfortunate as it was, Lamonte fouled Carson Edwards. I played the game of basketball. I've been around it for a long time. I know what a foul looks like, and even Paul Feinbaum agreed with me. So what does that tell you? And then, obviously, generational big band mismatch in 2024, historic individual heater in 2019 when they should have won, and then last year you just run into a Houston team that was all-time great defensively, and Kelvin Sampson's just a hell of a coach too, just like Rick Barnes is. But ultimately, we're going to rank these losses. Which one was the most painful? And I'm just going to give you my list. Ultimately, my list is based on personal experience. I guess I could just go over my top five Tennessee tournament losses, and I actually have them right here because I mean, and this is in no order because I can't really put them in order because they're all painful for a different reason. But ultimately, I mean, they're all traced back to that one common denominator, and that common denominator is that Tennessee just needs to spend a little bit more money on its basketball roster now to have a couple of go-getters that can just go get you a bucket whenever. I'm not saying that it's not a poorly run program. It's a very well-run program. But first loss, we're going to go in chronological order. And I just mentioned it. 2010 Elite Eight against Michigan State. Tennessee loses 70-69. In that game, Tennessee shot just 33% from the field after knocking off Ohio State in a massive, colossal upset. Evan Turner was number 2 pick in the draft that year. And they just got soft late. And fortunately, Bruce Pearl's team got bullied. And ultimately, looking back, those of you that remembered, you're actually going to pull up the numbers now because it's been so long that I actually kind of need the box score. But we're going to pull up the numbers now. And those of you that remember this game, I do apologize. Like I said, it's Wayne Chisholm led the way, 13 points. Brian Williams, 9 rebounds. JP Prince, 5 assists, but he also had 4 turnovers. Obviously, when it comes down to the box score, this is going to be a lot of box score watching because it's been so long since this game happened. But, I mean, we just run down it. Like I said, Tennessee did not shoot 33% from the field. They actually shot 51%, but at the same time, they only shot 44% from 3, and they only hit 7 of them. Michigan State, on the other hand, shot 46% from the field, but 3 more shots. Well, here's the thing. They were 6. Well, this actually, crazy enough, and as you all can tell, it's been a long time since I looked at this box score. Michigan State and Tennessee both shot 21 free throws. Tennessee was 14 of 21. Michigan was 16 of 21. They made 2 more. Tennessee made its free throws. It wins that game. Michigan State was 6 of 18 from the three-point line. That's 33%. Tennessee was 7 of 16. That's 44%. So they hit one more 3 and shot a better percentage. And Tennessee was 24 of 47. Michigan was 24 of 52. More second chances, but Tennessee shot a better percentage from the field than Michigan State. Tennessee and Michigan State both grabbed 27 rebounds. So, and in that game, Draymond Green only had 13 points and 1 rebound and 2 assists. It's not like he dominated the game, obviously. In fact, their leading scorer was Darrell Summers. He was not the best player on that team. Heck, Corey Lucius was more of a threat than he was. And unfortunately, Tennessee just came a play short. Wayne Chisholm, 13 points. Brian Williams, 11. Scotty Hopson, 10. This was before Scotty Hopson's big takeoff. JP Prince, 12 points. Obviously, Scotty Hopson, here's the problem. Scotty Hopson hits the free throw to tie. This was before he was a 56% free throw shooter this year. He improved to 80% after this. But had Scotty Hopson hit both free throws, Tennessee would have been up 1. And who knows, maybe they play that defense differently and they don't even get that. They're not even a chance to foul. Obviously, the foul was called on JP Prince and the rest was history. half-court shot was well short. Michigan State moves on, and obviously Tennessee's season ends in a huge disappointment. But that starts my list. And we're going to move forward. We're going to go to Loyola Chicago in 2018. Loyola Chicago, Sister Jean. Yeah, I have a hard time remembering this one. The only reason I have a hard time remembering this one is because that was another year where I was like, man, Tennessee could really, really go to the Final Four because of all the upsets that had happened, and they would have played 7, I believe, 9 seeds in the next 2 rounds, and they were on the come up. Tennessee was peaking late, and unfortunately, one of the world's luckiest shots ever just happens to bounce in, and Tennessee loses to Loyola Chicago in their Cinderella run. That one hurt. And it hurts. It more so hurt from a standpoint of my professional career because I wanted to put Final Fours on my resume coming out of college before I knew that I was going to leave the traditional legacy media business and do my own thing. If I had known that sooner, I may have taken a different route. But that one sucked. That one sucked from a fandom standpoint. Great game from an objective, unbiased point of view. And then we're going to get into the next year. And I've already talked about this story again. Tennessee and Purdue. Why is Purdue always, Music City Bowl, Zach Edey. This one started it all, and it was Ryan, pardon my language, Ryan fucking Klein. Ryan Klein is the whitest of the white boys that I've ever seen, and Ryan Klein had the game of his life against Tennessee that year, and was ultimately the reason why Tennessee did not win that game. He's hitting big shots, step back threes. This guy had no business hitting. I'm sitting there courtside like, dude, I look like I could guard this guy, and I was pudgy at the time. And I'm like, this guy's just sitting here going off. It was so frustrating, and I get it. Sun shines on a dog's ass twice a day or every once in a great while. That I totally understand. But at the same time, the hell is this? I love it every time I go on to ESPN and get box scores. They always bring up some Disney Cruise Line ad. But yeah, going to the 99-94, Ryan Klein, 27 points, 10 of 13 from the field, 7 of 10 from 3. This guy never put up numbers like this again in his life. And if I ever get a chance to have him on the show, I'm going to tell him that to his face. I would love to play Ryan Klein one-on-one right now. I would love it. Carson Edwards obviously did his thing, 29 points, but it was only 8 of 22 from the field. It was 5 of 14 from 3. Tennessee could have lived with that if Ryan Klein didn't have the game of his life. And then you go to the other side. Grant, 21 points. Admiral, 21 points. Tennessee obviously struggled early and had to come back, and they made a terrible habit of that later that season. Lamonte Turner, 15 points. Jordan Bone, 10. Obviously wasn't... And then Jordan Bowden comes off the bench, drops 16 points, had himself a good game, was 4 of 6 from 3. And it's just the bad luck that Tennessee has in these games. I'm sorry, it bugs me, and it bugged me at my 9 to 5 today when I heard people blaming the refs. I'm like, dude, Tennessee lost by 33 points or 32 points. You cannot blame the refs when shots just aren't falling. They're just not. Michigan's a great team. Michigan's better than Tennessee. Tennessee honestly shouldn't even have been in the Elite Eight, but it's a testament to Rick Barnes that they were. They were the 6th seed for a reason. They got swept by Kentucky this year for a reason. This is supposed to be a rebuild year per se. But Rick Barnes, as usual, coached his ass off and got this team to overachieve. But here we are so far. We've got Michigan State, Loyola Chicago, and we got Purdue. I hate to say it, but we're going right back to Purdue for the next one. Because Tennessee, with Dalton Knecht, one of the best players in the country, unfortunately loses to Purdue yet again whenever it matters most, and that's what we all remember. I'm going to pull up the box score for that game now. Bear with me while I get that going.
Obviously, this was a team that everyone was very much banking on making the Final Four that year, particularly when you saw the competition they were going up against. And even 37 points from Dalton Connect was not enough. 37 points. He was 6 of 12 from 3. Zakai Ziegler had a game to forget. Zakai Ziegler in this game was 9 points, 3 of 12 shooting, 1 of 8 from 3. Had 8 assists, only 1 turnover, but his size was really limited him late, and they really needed his scoring contributions because they didn't really get help from anywhere else. Nobody else on Tennessee scored more than 10 points. And that's why I was saying when they did have that guy, all they needed was the role players to step up, and they couldn't do that even then. And then you go to the other side, and Zach Edey scores 40 points, grabs 16 rebounds, is just literally standing down there eating barbecue chicken because that's all he had to do was throw it up over his head and it would roll in. The next most points was Fletcher Lawyer with 14, and he only shot 4 of 12, and he was 1 of 5 from 3. So Tennessee, after having a double-digit lead in this game, runs out of gas. Dalton Connect runs out of gas late, and Tennessee misses out on that coveted Final Four appearance. And then obviously, I think if you want to put the last one, I think you can combine the last 2 years into the same microcosm of a game because they really were. I mean, Tennessee wasn't better than either team, but, obviously they overperformed. But the possibility was still there because anything can happen in March Madness, and ultimately they just didn't hit shots when it got to the point of where they were going up against a team that might be better than them on the defensive side because Tennessee usually, especially this year, leaned on its defense to get things done. And ultimately, Michigan was the better team. I do think Houston was the better team, but I will go to my grave, and I don't think I'll ever let this go, forever saying Tennessee was better than Purdue in 2019, and Tennessee was better than Purdue in 2024. They just were. 40 points versus 37. And Dalton Connect was on fire, and like I said, he just ran out of gas, and it happens. You can't blame the guy. He had Tennessee in it. He gave Tennessee a double-digit lead to start the second half, and they couldn't close it out. Zakai Ziegler didn't hold up his end of the bargain. Jemai Mashak didn't hold up his end of the bargain. Josiah Jordan-James didn't hold up his end of the bargain. And Santiago Vescovi, unfortunately, was hurt. That's what I'm saying. They didn't even have their full lineup in, and they still should have beat them. And it just happens. It's the luck of the draw. It's sports. It's the beauty and the pain of it. Sometimes you win some. Sometimes you lose some. And the losses are as painful, if not more painful, than the wins are joyous. And that's just part of it. I hate it. I wish it was different. But ultimately, it's what makes sports so amazing and so great because they're unscripted and it creates drama that you just don't get aside from movies and TV shows in real life. And with that, especially when you're a Tennessee fan, comes a lot of pain. And with that comes our need to remind you who today's sponsor is, and that is BioWorks Knoxville, Knoxville's premier health, wellness, and recovery headquarters. Obviously, go to their, heartburn. You can go to their location off of Osprey Point Lane. They will be opening up another location here in November. That's going to be much larger, and they've got a lot of new stuff here that we're going to be introducing. But go in there, regenerate, recover, and you can even work on your wellness if the gym isn't something that you enjoy doing. Me, personally, what I like to do is I like to take a lot of peptide therapy, as you can go down here and see. Currently, my current peptide routine is MOTS-C about 3 times a week. For those of you that don't know what MOTS-C is, I actually have a reel that's going to be dropping here in the next hour that explains the benefits of MOTS-C. You can get retatrutide, which is the new GLP-3 variant that is taking over mainstream. You can also get things like melanotan 2 to keep your skin nice and dark. You can also get things like Ozempic and tirzepatide if you want to go the GLP-1 route. But ultimately, you can also get IV infusions. Obviously, that's a big thing nowadays. You have ozone IVs, which is where I stand by this treatment because you oxygenate your blood. What they do is they poke you, they draw out some blood. They obviously make it to where it can infuse back into your body, pump some oxygen into it. And that thing, it turns it cherry red, and then that brain fog that you've been experiencing for so long disappears. Not immediately, but almost. That next morning, I jumped out of bed feeling like a new man. Then obviously we can go into NAD+, you have exosome IVs, and you can get back up here where they have IV drips. Then you have vitamin injections, high-dose vitamin C for those of you that struggle with your immune system. So you can go online to book an appointment. You can call them by phone at their number right here. I recommend going in and getting a consultation with Kenny first, just so he can make some recommendations based on your needs and your history. But when you do go in there, tell them that Cory sent you, please. Not only will it make me look good, but they also might like me just a little bit more. And as those of you that can see on this show, sometimes it's hard for make people like me when I have to call out like it is when it comes to Tennessee sports. So visit BioWorks Knoxville, Knoxville's premier wellness and recovery headquarters, and obviously the official recovery and wellness headquarters of the Cory Sanning Show and of Sanning Media. So that being said, you all, it's going to be a short and sweet show tonight. Mostly because I have a lot to get done in terms of clipping. Those of you that have not followed my new fitness channel, I have a lot that's coming out later on this week on that. Please go follow it and subscribe to it at C Sanning. It'll say Cory Sanning, self-improvement, fitness, and wellness. Those of you that don't know, that was my first true love. Outside of sports was fitness, and I do love helping people reach their goals because I'm sitting here trying to get back to mine. So those of you that want to do that, please feel free to do so. Those of you that are just tuning in, please subscribe. Please hit that notification bell to be notified of when we drop our daily content here at the Cory Sanning Show. I do apologize for the delay in the show tonight. Just had some bit of a technical difficulties earlier that we worked through, but ultimately it was because I was actually sitting eating a delicious crab boil with my fiance's family, and shit happens. Sorry. When you're a busy man, you still got to eat. You still got to get your protein in. But until next time, what do I always tell you? Drink your water, get plenty of sleep, eat your protein, eat your greens, and above all else, make sure you subscribe to the Cory Sanning Show. And I'll see you in the next.